You are listening to Julia's Trucking Cafe News Hour. And welcome to Julia's Trucking Cafe Trucking News Hour. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy that you're here and that you want to listen to the trucking news. As always, I have lots of news to get to, so let's get right to it. In our first story, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration shares an online tool to help truckers understand the hours of service changes that went into effect the end of September. They are trying to clear up any confusion about changes to the hours of service rules with an online educational tool. As a little bit of background history, I'll spit it out eventually, we've had changes that also includes a 7 and 3, 3 and 7 split in the sleeper berth, an 8 and 2, and 2 and 8 split in the sleeper berth. You can also, this is for over-the-road trucks. I'm not that familiar with for local drivers. And you can also do your 30-minute break on duty, like say you're fueling, you pulled up, you forgot to change it. I'm notorious about doing that. To off duty, when you run inside, use the restroom, grab a drink, something like that. The whole time that you're there in the fuel islands takes 30 minutes, hopefully not, but, with fueling and everything, because it usually takes me about 5 to 10 minutes to fuel, roughly. I try to get in and out pretty quick, and then, running inside, like I said, using the bathroom, it ends up to be 30 minutes on duty time. Then you could go ahead, and that could be considered your break. Anyways, back to the article. I just wanted to explain that a little bit. They're sharing an online tool, like I said, intended to help motor carriers and drivers better understand the 4 major changes. They will increase safety and flexibility for the 30-minute break rule, like I explained. They'll modify the sleeper berth exception to allow drivers to split the required 10 hours off of duty, like I explained. They will modify the adverse driving condition exception by extending by 2 hours the maximum window during which driving is permitted. I think it's from 1 to 2 hours to 3 to 4 hours. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. And they will change the short haul exception available to certain commercial drivers by lengthening the driver's maximum on-duty time from 12 to 14 hours. And distance limit within the driver may operate from 100 air miles to 150 air miles. The educational tool allows drivers to create an example of a paper log to determine whether there are any violations of the new rules, though it is important to note that the tool does not cover the 60-70 hour limit requirements for local. It only requires the 70-80 hour rule. It's called the Educational Tool for Hours of Service, or ETHOS for short, also allows truckers to view pre-populated examples of logs to show how the new rules can be utilized or how to use it. The data entered into the tool is not recorded and will not be used by the agency for any purpose, supposedly. And then I will have a link on the announcements page, which is the first page that you see when you go to the website at juliastruckingcafe.com. So that's why I have the announcement pages for important stuff like this. And our next story, erratic truck driver is caught smoking opium on the job. A truck driver is facing charges that lost his job after police caught him smoking opium on the highway. This happened in Ontario, Canada, September 25th on the 401, Canadian's busiest highway. 27-year-old truck driver was pulled over after police received a complaint that he was driving erratically. Once he was pulled over, police discovered that the man had been smoking opium while he was driving, resulting in an immediate suspension of his license. Sure enough, he was smoking opium, said the Ontario Provincial Police, Bill Dixon. Because of the immediate license suspension, the officer then contacted the driver's company, who fired him on the spot. The unnamed driver is now facing multiple drug and traffic charges. Ontario police say that while opium users are somewhat uncommon, impaired driving is not. Sadly, it's not a truly isolated incident, said their spokesman. And in this story, a medical episode is likely responsible for a fatal head-on collision between a semi and a car. A motorist is dead after colliding head-on with a semi-truck during what police are calling a, air quotes, medical episode. This happened September 29th, around 8:18 in the morning in Colorado. According to the Colorado State Patrol, a car was traveling along Highway 24 between Woodland Park and the Divide when it suddenly left its lane and collided with an oncoming semi-truck. The motorist died at the scene, but the truck driver was unhurt. Police say a medical episode is likely to blame for the incident. Our officials are now conducting an autopsy on the motorist to determine whether the victim was killed in the crash or died to that suspected medical episode. The westbound lanes of the highway were shut down until the wreckage was cleared. In Colorado, in this story, Colorado troopers cite 10% of truck drivers during surprise snow chain inspection. Remember, for any of you newbies out here that haven't been driving during the winter or just got into a truck in spring, you need to either have chains, and just to show, sacks of chains are fine. You don't have to have hangers or extra hangers or anything like that. If you're a company driver, they're supposed to provide them for you. It is your responsibility to make sure you have them any place on your truck, in the side box, on the catwalk, the little area between the truck and the trailer. It's called a catwalk. Like I said, I'm mainly talking about this for newbies. From September 1st to May 1st, you are supposed to be carrying chains if you're going into Colorado. You can also carry those slip-on, what they call socks, which is made out of cloth material. You can purchase them at a truck stop or someplace like that if you're a lease operator or anything. But I have 4 packages of them, 2 per package. In my side box, just to show that I do have something in case the weather turns to crap. So, back to the article. Earlier this week, the Colorado State Patrol, this is the end of September, conducted a surprise chain inspection along the I-70 corridor. This happened September 28th between mile markers 133 and 259. Troopers said that 171 trucks were checked for the required chains. Of the checked trucks, 17 were not carrying chains and were issued citations. Each year, like I said, from September 1st, they say to May 31st. The state of Colorado requires all trucks that are traveling on I-70 between Morrison and Edwards to carry chains. According to Colorado DOT, commercial vehicle operation on I-70 in either direction between milepost 133 and 259 from September 1st to May 31st must carry sufficient chains at all times to be compliant with Colorado chain law. This is the only area in Colorado in which chains must be carried during the specific season, they say. The law applies to all commercial motor vehicles with a gross combination weight of over 26,000 pounds. They warn truckers that have additional surprise chain inspections planned soon. So, get them chains on your truck, in your side box, on the catwalk. Like I said, they could be sacks of chains. You don't have to have them on hangers or anything. And that's why you see a lot of trucks having chains. So, get them chains on your truck, in your side box, on the catwalk. Like I said, they could be sacks of chains. You don't have to have them on hangers or anything. And that's why you see a lot of trucks having chains. And in this next article, A trucker's manifest said it was hauling cookies. Excuse me, but a dog sniffed out $3 million worth of meth. Excuse me. U.S. Customs and Border Protection got a not-so-sweet surprise during a vehicle inspection in Texas. The drug seizure happened on September 25th at the World Trade Bridge at Laredo. A truck passing through the facility from Mexico was supposed to be hauling a load of cookies, according to the bill of ladings. However, when the truck was referred for an inspection using the facility's non-intrusive imaging system, it's really x-rays, and a canine unit, officers discovered 105 packages containing 164.59 pounds of alleged meth within the trailer. The estimated street value? $3,291,908 and change. Of course, the Border Patrol allegedly seized the alleged methamphetamine and the trailer. The case was handed over, of course, to U.S. Customs and Immigration and Homeland Security. And check this out. I don't know why FMCSA is going through so many administrators or acting administrators, but now the acting administrator that took Martinez's place now quit. Okay? And he's going to be hired by a driverless truck tech company. Well, isn't that nice to have a previous Fed in your back pocket? The forming acting, air quotes, administrator of the FMCSA has taken a new position with a tech startup that wants to put driverless trucks on the road within the next few years. San Diego headquartered tech company Too Simple announced that one-time head Jim Mullen was hired to oversee legal affairs and risk management strategy for the company. "We are thrilled to welcome Jim to the Too Simple team," said President Cheng Lu, who is Chinese. His experience leading to the FMCSA will prove to be invaluable to our company. I'm sure it will. So, you went from working for the government to working for China. Lovely. As we work to introduce Level 4 autonomous trucks to the market by 2024. Additionally, Jim brings over 15 years of legal experience to the trucking industry, and that wealth of knowledge will support public and private partnerships as Too Simple continues to scale autonomous operations. This is what we're headed towards, people. You know, get your head out of the sand and start listening up. Mullen stepped into the role of acting administrator for the FMCSA in the fall of 2019. He left the agency at the end of August. During his tenure, he was able to push through an hours of service final rule in addition to introducing the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. Yeah, hooray. Before starting a consulting firm in 2016, Mullen served as Executive Vice President and General Counsel for Werner Enterprises. In July of 2020, Too Simple announced the launch of the world's first autonomous freight network, which they describe as an ecosystem consisting of autonomous trucks, digital mapped routes, and strategically placed terminals. So this is what it's coming to, people. And in this story, a trucker's good deed does not go unnoticed. A Facebook user recently took a moment to shout out at a truck driver for taking the time and effort to ensure the safety of school children. Indiana resident took a photo of a touching moment of goodwill performed by a truck driver on the road ahead of her. He says that it's unlikely that the driver will ever see her post praising his or her actions, but the post has been shared more than 20,000 times in just a few days. I do this all the time. What happened was that the grain hauling truck, a school bus was just picking up children. It's on a busy 2-lane highway. He straddled both lanes and put his four-ways on, his flashers on, and of course stopped for the school bus to make sure that people stopped on both, behind him so that the kids could get on the bus. I do that all the time, It's great that somebody in a car appreciated our kindness that we do. And in this story, a senator proposes a pilot program to allow road trains on state highways. And what I mean by that is like the trains that you may hear about in Australia, which is miles and miles and miles of trailers and one or two trucks pulling it. That's what they're talking about. So legislation is... Senator and former truck driver has introduced a bill to allow road trains on North Dakota highways, and he's hoping that neighboring states will follow suit. Senator Larry, I can't pronounce his last name, Agriculture and Transportation Committee has announced they are seeking to begin a road train pilot program. Quote, "We have an opportunity to not only move freight more efficiently, but also safer and also cleaner for the environment," he said. He explains that the trucks wouldn't be as long as the typical Australian road trains. I'm not into just making a very long unit on the roadway. It has to be practical, and it has to be safe, and it has to be efficient. He said that North Dakota's road trains would be 3 trailers around 200 feet long and 360,000 pounds. He said that the road trains would be prohibited from moving hazardous materials. However, if the pilot program passes, the North Dakota Department of Transportation and the state's Highway Patrol would be responsible for setting new weight and length limitations. State's Agriculture and Transportation Committee is expected to discuss the road train pilot program at its next meeting in the beginning of October. And in this article, GPS changes could act as a temporary solution to infamously hazardous roadways. Kansas officials are looking to update information on K7 across GPS platforms as a temporary alternative to a total road rebuild. Just this year, more than a dozen semi-trucks have rolled over on Highway K7 north of Girard due to its narrow lanes and lack of shoulder. It's called slow the F down, like I've constantly say on the show. While the road is hazardous on its own, state and county officials are saying that incorrect information on GPS platforms is leading truck drivers astray by either failing to list the narrow width of the road or listing it incorrectly. Officials are currently working on a plan to kind of rehab the roadway by adding a shoulder and reducing grades, but say they don't expect the work to begin until at least 2022. That's another almost 2 years away. Because of this, they are searching for a quick temporary solution. Enter changes to GPS platforms. Quote, "When we first brought K7 up, they talked about reconstructing it. And from Girard up to the county line, it's about 11 miles. And that was going to cost $46 million. And then from the county line on up to 69, that's about 10 miles. And that was going to cost $42 million. So almost $88 million. Now, that's 2022 kind of the best scenario. We're not sure what the worst case would be. If we're looking at 2 years at best, I think the number one thing that would make the biggest difference is getting that off the GPS. Gudmundson said local police officers say that because some navigation systems list the road as being 24 feet wide or fail to list the width at all, truck drivers believe the route is safe, when in fact the roadway is less than 24 feet wide and there's no room for error. Try to go across the Huey P. Long Bridge outside of New Orleans one time. So our traffic engineering department has been trying to get in touch, and that is a real challenge of some of those huge companies trying to get in touch with somebody to get that data in the database if there's changed, because the road is not that wide. Yeah, good luck with that. I'm trying to find the right person to get that changed. I don't know where to go to find that, and neither does traffic engineering, because they've been working on it pretty much tirelessly. In regards to the use of Google Maps by truck drivers, Google has made a statement explaining, "We've designed Google Maps for drivers of standard size vehicles and not currently include routing tailored to drivers of oversized vehicles, meaning 13.6, 70 feet long, that you are an oversized vehicle. Get yourself a GPS. Stop counting on Google Maps or the maps on Apple or anything else. Save your pennies, save your points. You use your points, you get it for free. Stop using Google Maps. We encourage these drivers to use navigation tools designed specifically for their vehicle type, as I just stated. Officials are motivated to get the information changed to accurately reflect the width of the road as part of their temporary solution. They said they've been lucky that nobody has gotten killed, and that's their biggest concern. And in this story, a distracted driving blitz targets truckers hauling containers that yields nearly 150 citations. Good on them. Officers with the Georgia Department of Public Transportation recently conducted a truck enforcement operation near the port of Savannah. Port check and distracted driving detail was conducted between the September 22nd and the 24th on I-95 and I-16 corridors in areas near the port of Savannah. During that effort, officers with the Georgia Department of Motor Carrier Compliance Division zeroed in on inspecting commercial vehicles transporting containers, transporting hazardous materials, and unsafe operations. The officers issued citations for following too closely, improper lane change, cell phone usage, and officers conducted 103 violations for cell phone usage, conducted 316 non-hazmat inspections, 151 hazmat inspections, and placed 28 of the trucks and 9 drivers out of service. With the expansion of the Port of Savannah and the increase in congestion, it is imperative for drivers to conduct pre-trip inspections to ensure their equipment operating is safe to be on Georgia's roadways. They don't care. They grab it and go. I encourage all operators to be aware of their surroundings and to avoid being distracted when operating a vehicle typically weighing 80,000 pounds or more. Major Jeremy Vickery says of the Motor Carrier Compliance Division. The DOT says similar operations are conducted throughout the year to ensure safe driving habits of commercial motor vehicles. And up next, 2 truckers are charged following a separate fatal multi-vehicle pileups. 2 truck drivers face serious charges and possible prison time following separate pileup crashes that left 2 people dead. First crash occurred on September 26 on I-95 near Petersburg, Virginia. Troopers say that a semi-truck driven by a North Carolina resident was northbound on I-95 at mile marker 51 when he changed lanes, sideswiped a tow truck, Ford pickup truck, rear-ended a Ford Ranger pickup truck. That crash caused a Ford Ranger to strike a 2017 Hyundai Santa Fe. The tractor-trailer continued and struck another tractor-trailer. The original tractor-trailer rear-ended a 2017 Ford Escape, which pushed the Ford Escape into a 2000 Nissan Cube. 5-year-old boy who was passenger in the Ford Ranger died in that crash. 5 people were taken to the hospital, 4 with injuries considered serious and 1 with injuries considered minor. The driver was not hurt. The second crash occurred in Augusta, Georgia, around 1 p.m. on Tuesday, September 29th. Police there say that truck driver Royce Caleb Smith was traveling east on I-20 when he rear-ended an SUV in slow-moving traffic at mile marker 180 before crashing into 7 other vehicles. 54-year-old Brenda Anderson died in that crash, and mugshot of him, yeah, he looks real pissed off, like people need to get the hell out of his way. You know, young, dumb, and you know what they say. Smith was charged with second-degree homicide by vehicle, driving too fast for conditions, and following too closely. Good on ya. Both crashes show the risks involved in trucking. One small mistake can result in not just in the loss of a job, but in serious charges, prison time, or even death. And up next, trucker fatalities at highest rate since 1988, according to a disturbing report. Federal report compiling preliminary crash data for 2019, shows that fatalities for large trucks have reached their highest level in more than 30 years. The Department of Transportation National Highway Traffic Safety Administration released preliminary traffic death data. Yeah, distracted driving, going too goddamn fast. I'll tell you exactly what the heck it is. Report indicates that fatalities for occupants hit its highest rate since 1988, when I started, when 911 people died then. Now, in 2018 there was 5,006, and in 2019 there was 5,005. From 911 people to over 5,000 people die in truck crashes. What the hell does that tell you? Slow the hell down. Put your damn phone down. Get yourself a headset. Or don't talk on the damn phone. If you're out here under 5 years, put the damn phone on Do Not Disturb. Call somebody when you take your 30-minute break. You don't have enough experience to be talking on the phone and everything when you're not even out here a year or less. Over 36,096 fatalities in motor vehicle crashes in 2019. It was a decrease, down only about 2%. And in this story, Colorado cops pulled truckers over for safety checks on Wolf Creek Pass during October. Colorado transportation officials conducted safety checks along one of the state's most treacherous mountain passes in an attempt to prevent crashes. I will talk sometime today. During October, the Colorado Department of Transportation, Colorado DOT, and the State Patrol joined forces to conduct safety checks at the summit of U.S. Highway 160, Wolf Creek Pass. During the safety checks, troopers will be interviewed truck drivers, told them of the locations of tight turns on the pass, educated them about the importance of downshifting and maintaining a low speed for the next 7 miles. The number of crashes over the years underscores the need to slow down over this mountain pass. From 2015 to 2019, there have been 47 semi-truck crashes on the west side of Wolf Creek Pass. 3 of those crashes resulted in needless fatalities. One of the most recent fatalities occurred in May of 2018. 30-year-old Florida-based truck driver lost his life on the pass after he was unable to negotiate the turn at mile marker 160, drove through the scenic overlook parking lot and crashed off of a cliff, falling 125 feet down before coming to a stop. So this episode is about pounding it home, how everybody needs to slow the hell down. I have a shirt on in the Trucker Cafe store that says exactly that. Slow the F down. So this man lost his life because he was going too goddamn fast, couldn't negotiate the turn, took it over the cliff, and dropped 125 feet. He did not survive. He died. The State Patrol says stopping commercial motor vehicles and talking with the drivers have proven successful. Past safety checks have coincided with construction projects on the pass, letting drivers know what they're in for. Coming down the pass can prevent a potential crash, so we're going to pick those efforts up again. What is the speed limit? Commercial trucks maintain lower than 25 miles an hour. What is the grade of the pass? 7% grade on the west side of the pass. The distance from the summit to the west base of the pass is over 8 miles. There's a dangerous hairpin curve 6.5 miles from the summit. A ski area, forest roads, and public scenic lookouts are all points of access along US 160 in which truckers may encounter other vehicles attempting to enter or exit. Truck drivers should inspect their brakes at the summit before descending the 8-mile trip, or in other words, at the top of the hill. If you don't know what a summit is, before you start going down the 8-mile paths. There is a song by Chris Ledoux, or actually was it? I'll have to look it up. But, yeah, it goes Wolf Creek Pass, way up on the Great Divide, trucking on down the other side. So I'm sorry, I may be wrong on that, being Chris Ledoux. But look up the song by, of Wolf Creek Pass. And actually, it was C.W. McCall, thinking about it. It was C.W. McCall, the same singer for Convoy. He did Wolf Creek Pass. And he said the bridge was 13.6, and they were loaded up with chickens to 13.9. He hit that doggone overpass so hard that it took the top 2 layers of the chickens off. I mean, it may sound funny, but it's not. So, you need to slow down. Now, after that, it's time
This
to
episode of Julia's Trucker Cafe is brought to you by My Patriot Supply. As truck drivers, we all know what it's like to be at a shipper's or receiver's and have to wait to be loaded for hours on end. Am I right? Especially produce coolers and paper mills. That's why you need to be prepared with extra food in your truck, especially with the bad weather coming in, like it is over here in Kansas. Up in the Dakotas and Minnesota, 90 was shut down, Interstate 94 was shut down, along with 29. What are you going to do if there's no food and a truck stop was without power? That's why you need to stay prepared with My Patriot Supply. Now, it's not what you're thinking. My Patriot Supply is delicious emergency food. They have food kits that are good up to 25 years. They come in a slimline tote that you can easily store in your food pantry or under your bunk. I can speak from experience. After living through Hurricane Katrina, we were without power for 10 days, me, my mother, and son, and I. If it weren't for the MREs that were flown into us, we wouldn't have any food. There was 4 60-foot pine trees that broke in half during that storm and crossed my driveway and landlocked me in. That's when My Patriot Supply would have come in handy. If I knew then what I know now about My Patriot Supply, I definitely have some of this food stockpiled in my pantry. Now, for a limited time, you could get a 1-week supply of food in a handy and neat-looking ammo can, like you see here, for just $39. Look at all that food you get. It's a week's worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinners, just for $39. How do you get it? Where do you go, do you ask? Well, I'll tell you. Just go to my website at juliastruckercafe.com, click on the Emergency Food Supply tab, scroll down and click on any of the images to find out more information and get yours today. They even offer gluten-free food for under $100. Winter weather is here. What would you do if the interstate was shut down, just like I was talking about? You need to get My Patriot Supply and get it today.
A North Carolina church shows forgotten truck drivers some love. Oftentimes the truck drivers are forgotten about. They're the ones spending late nights away from home on the road, said the church pastor. Passing truck drivers were able to enjoy a hot meal last weekend thanks to church members just looking to show their appreciation and support. The event took place at Harold's Community Park and was hosted by the Royal Chapel Missionary Baptist Church on Saturday, September 26th in Ivanhoe, North Carolina. According to the local paper, Pastor Terrell Bryant spoke to his congregation about how crucial truck drivers are to grocery stores, hardware stores, and more especially during this virus, which inspired the congregation to organize the event for truckers. The congregation cooked and handed out the meals themselves. It was great, said Tisha Rich, one of the participating members. I'm glad that my church got the opportunity to do this for the truckers. We really appreciate everything that they do. We just want to get outside of the walls of the church and show appreciation to those who are out there on the front lines. Oftentimes, the truckers are forgotten about. They're the ones spending late nights away from home on the road, and they made signs saying, "Truckers rock," which is pretty cool. And up next, truckers are charged in $400 million tobacco smuggling ring. This week, well, actually the first week of October, authorities charged more than a dozen people involved in a large-scale tobacco smuggling operation using semis. 13 people, some of whom were drivers, are facing 15 charges related to fraud involving the smuggling of contraband tobacco, possession of unstamped tobacco products, conspiracy to move contraband tobacco, and to possess unstamped tobacco products. The charges were announced on September 29th by the Canadian Border Services Agency following an investigation that began back in 2018 under the name Project Butane. Investigators say that between September 2nd, 2017 and May 27th, 2019, 13 people were charged were part of a criminal organization that smuggled 88 loads of bulk tobacco across the Canadian government, $450 million in lost tobacco duties and taxes. As a result of Project Butane, the government seized 3 trucks, 38 cell phones, 12 computers, and 36,000 kilos of tobacco. The people charged as part of Project Butane investigation are Martin Bessette, Eric Landry, Alfred Binet, Sergei Baroque, Etienne Demers, Kidrick Goudoir Fournier, Pierre Leblanc, Michael Savoy, Michael Frederic Rindeau, it's a lot of French, Matthew Dinigan Lantier, Rinald Jacques, Christos Gregorios, and Curtis Lewis Thompson. Officers are very attentive to contraband tobacco, in particular with regard to large-scale contraband strategies in commercial vehicles. This type of activity harms Canada's economy by encouraging the black market. All offenders are subject to sanctions and legal proceedings. And next up, driver is arrested after feds find 117 people crammed into a trailer, semi-trailer. Border Patrol agents intercepted a major human smuggling attempt at a Texas checkpoint. This incident occurred September 29th on Highway 83 north of Laredo. Authorities say that a truck approached the checkpoint and was searched after a canine unit alerted to the vehicle. Don't the cartel know that, unless this was a decoy, that dogs sniff out people? Excuse me. Agents discovered 117 people from Mexico and Guatemala. So I'm wondering if this wasn't a decoy to get a bunch of other trucks through. All the people in the trailer and the truck driver, who was a U.S. citizen, were taken into custody. The truck and the trailer were seized, of course, by Border Patrol. And up next, a garbage truck driver finds a bear, and I'm talking a big black bear, catching a ride on the top of his garbage truck. His garbage truck had an unlikely passenger. It drove through the city of Kidder Township, Pennsylvania. The bear was attracted to the truck, most likely hoping to sift through the trash for food. In the process, he climbed on top of the truck. They do have a ladder on the back of this thing, but that ladder is going to be gone. And stayed positioned there until it arrived at Kidder Township Police Department. Bear complaints are up this year. Bear complaints are up this year, according to the local police. It's been pretty frequent, almost daily, that we're getting a new bear complaint in the area, and we can only assume it was sick of going for the small amount of trash in the garbage pails and went for the big prize. They confirmed on the post that the bear was not harmed. He did make it down safe. The truck backed to a tree and he made his way down. Others shared their thoughts on the bear's wild ride. So who got in the truck with the bear on top of it? That was a brave man. I got the scoop from the manager. The bear was inside the can when the automated truck lifted it up. The driver saw it on camera, and they use as they run the trucks. That is one lucky bear. Usually they come packed with they dump in before they drive off. So, yeah, he backed up to a tree and was able to get the bear off. And the bear is looking at whoever took a picture like, what are you looking at? Pretty funny. And in this story, a truck driver is caught smuggling immigrants out of the country. A truck driver was arrested after officials caught him attempting to smuggle illegal immigrants out of the country. This occurred October 1st in Dover, England. 37-year-old unnamed truck driver was just outside the port of Dover when he was stopped by police. Upon inspection of the truck, officers discovered 4 men in the back of the trailer, 2 from Bangladesh, 1 from India, and 1 from Egypt. Excuse me. Officials say they believe the truck driver was attempting to smuggle 4 men out of the country and that the 4 men had been in the UK illegally. The truck was scheduled to board a boat across the channel to France. Truck driver was arrested for attempting to facilitate illegal immigration. So there you go. It's happening all over the world, which we all know. And a driver shares a video to let others know that being impatient could really kill somebody, which we do know. I will let you look at that for yourself, which will be in the show notes, which I'm also playing catch up on. And just go to juliastrucketcafe.com, click on the cafe menu, and scroll down until you see the show notes. And next up, one of the biggest trucking shows is canceled for 2021. Do you think they're getting a little bit ahead of themselves? A major trucking show planned for next year will not be taking place due to the concerns of the virus. Event organizers with the Great American Trucking Show recently announced that an in-person event will not be taking place in 2021. Plan begins at least 12 months in advance, yet as we head into the 4th quarter of 2020, we are no more certain about the potential to hold a successful, large-scale in-person event than when we canceled the 2020 show. Instead of the in-person Great American Trucking Show event, some events will be held virtually. Small Fleet Champ Award, Partners in Business, Pride and Polish, and Trucker Talent Search. The virus forced the cancellation of multiple trucking events so far this year, and we all know about that. And a trucker missing from Dallas since September 26th. Truck driver has been missing for more than a month from the Dallas area. I will see if there's been any updates. Alex Davis has been missing since September 26th. Also, Keys Lynn has been missing, still missing as well, and that's since December or January, all so far this year. He drove for CFI, and his truck number is 49416, a white Freightliner Cascadia. I will look to see if anybody found him at all. And if anybody knows if he has been found, please message me. My email is info@juliastrucketcafe.com, or you can message me on Facebook in the group and on the Julia's Trucker Cafe page, and let me know that he is found, and I will make sure it's updated. And this next story. A man is accused of shooting at a semi during a Trump parade in Ohio. An Ohio man was arrested and charged over the weekend after allegedly opening fire on a semi-truck during a political rally. 58-year-old Todd Crawford was arrested and charged with discharge of a firearm on or near premises, according to a local news outlet. The arrest came after a road rage incident that began around 10:40 a.m. on Saturday, October 3rd in Hilliard, Ohio. Police say that they received a call from an unnamed semi-truck driver who reported a man in a black F-150 pickup had opened fire on his truck as 2 vehicles were traveling north on I-270. No injuries were reported. Crawford turned himself in a few hours after the shooting was reported. During the investigation into the incident, police learned that Crawford was participating in a parade in support of President Trump on I-270 when the shooting occurred. Crawford told police that he was participating in the rally. Semi-truck driver struck his pickup, causing him to open fire on the semi out of fear for his own safety. Truck driver denied this claim, admitting to heckling parade participants, but saying that he did not strike Crawford's pickup. Crawford is scheduled to appear in court on Tuesday morning. Additional charges could be pending. And truckers again gather at the National Mall to promote trucking education in a really good mood. A group of truckers gathered at the National Mall the first weekend of October as a way to promote trucking education, educate the public, and put everyone in a really good mood. Back in May, a group of truckers gathered in Washington for a demonstration protesting low freight rates, broker transparency, and more. From October 1st to October 4th, there was approximately 32 drivers parked their rigs right in the National Mall, U.S. Capitol building on one side and the Washington Monument on the other, drawing a crowd of interested onlookers. Stephen Myers says it was a really good mood, one of the organizers of the annual event. Lots of kids want to get up in the trucks and check them out. Despite decreased participation in this year's event due to concerns over recent civil unrest and subsequent equipment damage, Myers said he was happy with the turnout and the drivers took appropriate precautions to avoid any unfortunate situations. We're pretty much parked at ground zero for any demonstrations, he said. We're not allowed to move unless we're leaving the area, so we're trying to make sure everyone stays safe. Myers, who's also administrator of the Facebook group The Disrespected Trucker, which helped organize the May Day truck protest earlier this year. After that event, Myers says he realized that many drivers were in need of a way to have their spiritual needs met. So he started using his skills as an ordained minister to start the Truckers for Christ Facebook page, which offers online teachings and sermons. Even still, Myers stresses the importance of real human interaction and says events like 10-4 DC are crucial for both the mental health of truckers and for the education of the public. Sometimes a person 1,000 miles from home just needs someone to talk to or to pray with them. I've made my personal phone number available for anyone who needs counseling or help. I get between 200 and 400 calls every month. Although this isn't his first trucker event, Myers says he still appreciated every second of it. Most of us have only seen Washington from the highway, missing the history that's available here, he explained. We're seeing the sights while we can. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and get in touch with Mr. Myers, Stephen Myers. And in this story, troopers say a truck failed to slow down before striking a car at a toll plaza. There again, slow down. Florida Highway Patrol says everyone is expected to be okay after a serious crash at a toll plaza. Crash was reported shortly before noon and Three Lakes Toll Plaza in Osceola County, Florida. According to Florida Highway Patrol, the driver of the truck failed to slow and struck a car in the southbound toll booth. Yeah, he crunched it. And up next, over 128,000 trucks are affected by a massive Freightliner brake light recall. Daimler Trucks in North America has issued a major recall for a brake light defect that could increase the risk of a crash. The recall affects certain models of 2017 to 2021 Freightliner Cascadia P4 vehicles for a defect that could cause the brake light to remain illuminated after the pedal is released. According to the documents, if the brake lights remained illuminated, drivers may be unaware when the truck is actually slowing or stopping, increasing the risk of a crash. You think? 128,269 vehicles are affected by the recall. The recall is expected to begin November 16th. Daimler Trucks will contact truck owners and dealers will replace the 3-pin brake pressure switch with a 2-pin brake pressure switch along with a jumper harness, free of charge. Owners may contact them at their customer service number at 1-800-547-0712. That's 1-800-547-0712. Reference recall number F as in Frank, L as in Larry, 863. That's FL-863. And sadly, children and drivers are uninjured after a semi-truck and a school bus collide. On October 5th, no injuries were reported following a crash between a school bus and a semi-truck. This happened around 7:20 in the morning in Roanoke, Indiana. the Canterbury school bus on Highway 24 near County Road 900 when it crashed with a semi-truck. Luckily, the Sheriff's Department was deemed the incident a property damage accident. Motorists were asked to avoid the area, and they worked to clear the wreck. Police have not indicated who was at fault in the incident, and information on the citations were issued as a result of the accident were not released.
Greatly appreciate each and every one of you who tune in to listen to me each week here on the cafe. If you wouldn't mind, please subscribe using the link below, or on CloudHub, please subscribe at the top of the page. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. As I said, please, if you wouldn't mind, stop in if you're on Facebook and give us a like on Facebook. Also join our discussion group at Julia's Trucking Cafe Regulars. And if you wouldn't mind, subscribing to our newsletter at juliastruckingcafe.com/newsletter. So thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time. You have been listening to Julia's Trucking Cafe Truckin' News Hour. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Take care. Have a blessed day.